Senator Lindsey Graham has used multiple Fox News appearances to beg viewers to send their money to billionaire criminal defendant Donald Trump, while Marjorie Taylor Greene insulted New York City. But none of that is working politically. Republicans discovered yet again this week that tying their fates to Trump, who still faces even more looming indictments, has been a disaster. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. We've said this many times on the show, and it remains true today. Donald Trump is deeply unpopular with the broad majority of Americans. Even in his moment of need, after he sent out a call to his supporters to protest and take our nation back, the response was mostly shrugs. Only a small number of Trump supporters showed up at the courthouse, where they looked like tourists who had wandered over from the M&M store. I'm here to support Donald Trump and to see if the green M&M is still sexy. And a single. I'm sorry, but this is not a protest. This isn't even the dinner rush at Cracker Barrel. So Trumpism has always been very unpopular, but sometimes it's just hard to remember that because he looms so large over our politics and because one of our two major parties remains totally devoted to him. Case in point, Senator Lindsey Graham, who once said of Trump, "Count me out, enough is enough," has been going on Fox News for a week on the verge of tears, begging viewers to send money to self-proclaimed billionaire Donald Trump for his legal defense fund.
To those who are listening tonight, if you believe Donald Trump is being treated poorly and wrongly, stand up and help the man. Pray for our country. Pray for him. Go to DonaldJTrump.com and give money so he can defend themselves. America literally is at stake as we know it, is at stake as we know it. I'm sorry I'm so upset, but please help President Trump. If you can afford $5 or $10, if you can't afford $1, fine, just pray. Pray for this country, pray for this president, and if you got any money to give, give it. LindseyGraham.com, it doesn't go to me, it goes to helping this president.
I think Lindsey Graham might have missed his calling as a televangelist because he's got the most important part down. God, in this case Donald Trump, needs more money, but you can send it to me and I'll make sure he gets it. I mean, I might invest it in some side projects, get a little Bitcoin. My skin crawls hearing Lindsey Graham ask for $5 or $10 for a self-proclaimed billionaire's legal fees. For less than the price of a cup of coffee a day, you can keep this man where he belongs, in the window seat of his own private plane and knee-deep in adult film stars. It's what Jesus would have wanted. Also, what the hell is going on with Graham's appearance here? Did Fox News just light him weird, or is he starting to turn into Trump's mini-me? Next time Lindsey sees Trump, he's gonna have circles under his eyes, wearing a baggy suit and oversized tie. See, Donald, I'm just like you. What's that, Mima? I am just like him. I got the suit, the tie, what do you mean I lack his charisma? I got more charisma in my little finger than you have in your whole CPAP machine. What? Well, if you can't hear me, turn it off. Whirring all night long, keeping me up, keeping the dogs up. This is you just saw previews for a Broadway show. For free, I should note. So the GOP remains fully devoted to Trump, but it's been a political disaster for them, as we learned yet again this week. They got crushed in the 2018 midterms, the 2020 election, they underperformed in the 2022 midterms, and they lost the Georgia runoffs. The Progressive just won the Chicago mayor's race despite the GOP's, despite the GOP's constant scaremongering about crime. And in Wisconsin, a crucial swing state, Democrats scored a massive 11-point victory in a race for the state Supreme Court that gave progressives control of the court for the first time in 15 years, which could decide the fate of abortion protections and gerrymandering in Wisconsin. I'm no political expert, but it seems like the GOP's strategy of whining about wokeness, voter fraud, and gender-neutral potato head dolls is just not exactly working, especially since their senators are starting to look a little bit like potato head dolls. Yeah, they just can't stop themselves. The crazies are still going on Fox, whining about the same old bullshit they always whine about and coming off as deeply unlikable, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who showed up in Manhattan Tuesday to scream into a bullhorn in her Unabomber glasses before fleeing with a police escort back to her Escalade like a Disney mascot whose fake head just fell off. Look away, kids. Goofy is fine. He's fine. He's just going to go to the hospital for a minute. Move, move. Greene then went on Tucker Carlson's show last night to say a bunch of insulting things about the city.
Mayor Adams described New York as, quote, his home. How did his home look? Pretty neat and tidy? No, his home is disgusting. I compared it to what I called Gotham City. The streets are filthy. They're covered with people basically dying on drugs. They can't even stand up. They're falling over. There's so much crime in the city. I can't comprehend how people live there. It was repulsive. It smells bad. And I think it's a terrible place.
Okay, Bane's girlfriend. How dare you say that in the city that is home to Fox News headquarters? These people are such assholes. Only Republicans would go to liberal cities and on them. It doesn't work the other way around. I don't go to her hometown and say nasty things about it, although I don't know where she's from. I'm assuming the videotape from The Ring, is that a place people grow up? Do they got good schools there? The only people who are allowed to on New York, the only people, are New Yorkers. Because we love it, and we love how mad it makes us. It's not an easy city to live in. You fight, and you claw, and you finally get the job of your dreams, and you move into a New York City apartment, and you give a little fist pump, and you say, yes. And then your neighbor pounds on the wall and screams, keep the noise down! And yeah, sure, as a New Yorker, I'm willing to admit it smells bad here sometimes. I had always assumed that's why Tucker Carlson was making that face. Everyone who lives there makes that face at least once a day. And we're usually thinking something like, is that urine or boiled cabbage? The point is, none of this is working. They keep whining, they keep losing. Their constant victimhood and obsession with wokeness and devotion to Trump just keeps turning people off. Republicans have tied their political fortunes to a guy who just got arrested and still faces the possibility of even more arrests. Even amid his arraignment in New York, there's been a constant stream of breaking news about all the other criminal investigations Trump is facing.
Donald Trump's arrest and arraignment in New York City today is only part of his legal trouble. The special counsel is still investigating January 6th and those classified documents. And prosecutors in Fulton County, Georgia, are still considering charges.
Breaking news here. A three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit has denied an emergency motion filed by President Trump's legal team yesterday, seeking to stop several of his top aides, including Mark Meadows, from testifying before the federal grand jury.
Breaking news to report in one of the special counsel investigations into Donald Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence will not fight a judge's order for him to testify before a grand jury weighing Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
The Washington Post reports that federal investigators have gathered new evidence pointing to possible obstruction by Donald Trump in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case.
Sources say Trump looked through boxes of government records after he was subpoenaed to return them.
There's so much nonstop breaking news about the Trump investigations that if you wanted to keep track of it all, you'd need an entire show dedicated to scrutinizing every detail and following every development. Oh, wait, that's us. Okay, great. So we have it. When I first pitched the idea for this show back in 2014, the execs were all like, Trump, the real estate guy, but he hasn't committed any crimes. And I just leaned back, lit up a cigarette, and said, oh, just you wait. Just you wait. And then because I don't smoke, I coughed a lot. All in all, I'd say it was a pretty bad meeting. The point is, the GOP has tied itself to this guy, and his legal troubles are not going away anytime soon. In the classified documents case, for example, the special counsel has amassed even more evidence of obstruction, and yet Trump keeps admitting to what he's been accused of, that he just rifled through the classified documents even after he was asked to return them. In fact, at one point, during a recent interview with his buddy Sean Hannity, Trump blurted out the truth.
I can't imagine you ever saying, bring me some of the boxes that we brought back from the White House. I'd like to look at them. Did you ever do that?
I would have the right to do that. There's nothing wrong with it.
But I know you. I don't think you would do it.
Well, I don't have a lot of time, but I would have the right to do that. Right. I would do that. There'd be nothing
wrong. Let me move on.
Remember this.
Yeah.
This is the Presidential Records Act. I have the right to take stuff.
Hannity even tries to move on, and Trump is like, no, wait, I'm not done confessing, Sean. I have the right to take stuff, be it classified documents or candy bars at the checkout that I hide in what I call my shoplifting coat. All right, let's move on, Mr. President. Before we do Sean Zagnut, it's a little melted, but it's still very delicious. Crunchy peanut butter. Crunchy peanut butter with coconut, for we love a Zagnut, everybody. It's a very modern candy bar, and when Seth brought it up today and the young writers, they said, no one's gonna know Zagnut. They're not gonna know it. And Seth said, everybody knows Zagnut. You wait, when we say Zagnut, there's gonna be a big cheer from the audience. And now Seth And I'll tell you what's happening right now. Seth's seeing the silhouette of his writers, and they're celebrating how wrong he was, and it's very hurtful that they would, very, very cruel that they do that. Trump's only defense, as far as I can tell, is an incredibly bizarre claim he keeps making that the special counsel in the investigation, a guy named Jack Smith, is using a fake name.
This lunatic special prosecutor named Jack Smith, I wonder what it was prior to a change.
I'm sorry, what? What? Why do you think he changed his name? Are you suggesting something illicit, or are you genuinely curious about how to do it? Are you trying to pull a Don Draper yourself and just swap identities with a different person? I wonder how he changed his name, because if you could change your name and dye your hair, you might be able to flee all your legal troubles and start a new life in a small village in South America where people only know you by your new identity, Mr. Lindsey Graham. When you pull back from the craziness of this week, one thing is clear. Trumpism is a giant loser for the GOP. It's not working, people don't want it, and they keep making that clear in election after election after election, and yet Republicans won't give up. I have no idea what people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are thinking. I can't get inside her head, although if I could, I bet I would say it was
repulsive, it smells bad, and I think it's a terrible place.
This has been A Closer Look.